Hello, hello guys, what is going on? Welcome to another World of Warships Legends video. I am your host today, Phoenix61. We are rocking the Dunkerque. This is a tier 5 primo French battleship, right? So I enjoy this ship. At this point I'm just trying to mix up my premium supplies plays, right? So we're doing premium supplies missions for the week. We do get the unlucky fact that there is a carrier in this game, although I really have no right to complain because I do occasionally play as carriers as well, right? I do see a couple of tier 6s on the other team, but the carrier is at least a 5, right? So, and then, yeah, we're going to get picked up by the planes, and I'm going to imagine I am probably the closest, easiest target for him, so we'll probably have to deal with airplanes for a little bit here. So I'm going to hold off on using damage con just because I'm gonna guess he's swinging around to dump torpedoes at me. And yep, just looking at the mini-map, you can see him coming from the side here now, yep. So I'm gonna turn in, we'll see if we can avoid some, but it looks not so great. So we get hit by those. We'll use the damage con there. You do still run a little bit of a risk by using that right away if he gets a second run, but typically in the beginning of the game, I kind of am hoping they don't, because so he loses the rest of his planes, right? So we had our fighter out, we got a shot down, plus he's flying over at least one other of our, battleships that are taking on, so he's taking heavy anti-air fire, right? So using the damage con to put that flood and fire out right away was probably the right call. But yeah, if you're kind of out there by yourself, it might be worth holding on to it just so that you don't, if he comes back around and the timing's just not right, then you'll get another flood and have to suffer through that. So trying to pick my best target here at this point, I was kind of hoping that the airplanes wouldn't come back for me, but it looks like they're gonna. He's not doing his job. He's not hunting down destroyers only, guys. But sometimes I'm like, I'll go after one side when I'm playing the carrier, and then I'll go and see, pick up the spots and at least get a good bead on where the enemy destroyers and other ships are, right? So I'll hit full forward here. See, caught us backing up. We were able to dodge one as we kind of turned away from it too. And then this Italian cruiser here looked like a good shot, so we'll take that with AP, and we get 3 over penetrations. And we're a little bit low on health early in this game. We don't want to be the first one out, but we're continue to get picked on by the carrier, and this is the perfect example of why you guys all hate carriers, right? But yeah, so I mean, there's a way to get out of this, right? And it's to go, and I'm gonna do it now. And I'm hoping I haven't waited, I haven't waited too long to make this decision. But I got 2 other battleships behind me, and they've been keeping their distance. So part of it is I could blame them for not coming closer, so that way we've got sort of a better anti-air bubble. But I can't control what they do, right? So, we're going to back up and see if we can't make it close to them. The other thing, too, is if this keeps happening to me, I'm going to need will to rebuild. And you guys know on my battleships, I pretty much always have will to rebuild, right? So, yeah, we're taking more hits. We've only got 4 planes shot down. There goes one. Our fighter finally got one for us. But yeah, so I'm going to try and back up and meet up with these other battleships behind me. Because now I'm definitely going to need will to rebuild at some point here. I feel like their entire team has been picking on me, at least on this side of the map, plus the carrier. Worst scenario ever. The nightmare that is carriers. Keeping me spotted, dumping ordnance on me, and now we're almost dead, right? But there's a way out of this, right? So, we're backing up. We're going to be within will to rebuild range soon, right? And basically what you do is you just kind of, hook yourself up to another battleship and hang out with them for the rest of the game, right? a decent shot on this Mackinson. So we aim a little high because he is kind of somewhat pointed away. He's not sailing perfectly broadside. And we get a good Citadel hit out of that, plus 2 others. So this game's not over. See, you could have just plowed forward, griped about the planes, and given your ship away. But we're going to fight this one out, right? Do what you need to do to survive. And even sometimes just backing up, like just moving away from, you know, whatever, you know, people hate getting fire spammed too. And it's the same thing. Like, get away from it. You know, obviously don't make yourself too vulnerable while doing so, right? So like we backed up instead of turning around and going forward because, you know, we know we've got the, you know, these 2 turrets on the front that are pretty heavily armored, right? And so we're not sailing broadside for even just a few seconds because that would give somebody the opportunity, you know, as we're turning around, we'll go broadside for a little bit and that gives them opportunity to shoot us and finish us off, especially with the low amount of health that we have too, right? But I'm like kind of annoyed. So this California is that like I buddied up with here is full on health, but now he's moving away, and I'm like, come on, bro. Like I don't know if he's moving away because he sees all these ships over here. But I'm like this is where the fight is. Like if he stayed with me, we'd have will to rebuild. So I'm gonna probably, you know, if I keep getting picked on, I'm gonna have to re-seek him out or this other battleship. But so we've got the other battleship that was up here. And I feel like he's going too far in, right? Like he's along the edge of the map there. So we'll just start backing up and see how long we can stay alive, see how much damage we can do. I'm usually kind of like, you know, like I set low expectations for myself. I'm like, all right, we did decent. Even if we die now, we at least did more damage to the enemy team than what our health pool is worth, right? We've got 52,600 for our health, and we're at 65 now, right? But I mean, you know, you're not factoring in heals, but you know, shut up, right? But this backing away, like, so thus far has been working out, right? So we're just gonna make sure we don't, you know, poorly angle ourselves, and we'll see how long we can survive. The other thing too is if you're drawing in enemies, like this Nelson, for example, he's gonna pay for this, right? So I think he's probably was eyeing me up. I think he's the one that was lighting us on fire, right? And so he's like, all right, that Dunkirk's low. I'm going to press in towards him to see if I can finish him off. Well, if you play your cards right, play the survival role, he just took a big hit from somebody on the other side of the map, right? He's sailing broadside to either that California or whatever battleship is over there in Zone A, right? If they've got that kind of range. And then, yeah, Queen Elizabeth finishes him off, right? So, like, you're drawing out those kind of, you know, the suckers, right? Like the ones that are like too, you know, over eager to like try and get a kill out of you. And then it opens them up, you know, if they're not paying close attention to the minimap, it opens them up to get whooped by your teammates, right? So almost like you're using yourself as bait, right? But with him down, and I'm looking at the minimap, I'm like, okay, there isn't a battleship in range that can hit me anymore, most likely, right? Like, because I've got my Dunkirk built for range. And so I can see, you know, up all the way up in the top right of the map, those 2 battleships are, you know, kind of the closest ones to me, right? So I can probably press forward and see if I can't meet back up with that California before we start taking fire again, right? So I'm going to turn towards him. So we'll turn towards that battleship that's closest to us on the minimap and see if we can't pick up will to rebuild, right? So with this too, so I've got, you notice the, like, on the mini-map, the yellow circle that's closer to my ship. So that's your, sort of your legendary perk range, right? So when somebody else, you know, on a battleship or cruiser, most of the time it's an allied ship, when an allied ship gets within that range. And then some of the destroyer ones are enemy focused, right? So I'm going to hold off firing so that we don't get spotted here, see if we can't get close to the California. But notice my circle, like for my will to rebuild, is quite large, right? So I'm not, and the advantage here is like I'm not using one of the like paid commanders, like one of the ones that you have to use a bunch of doubloons to buy, that like, you know, when, you know, there's new like seasons or events or whatever, there's always these specialty commanders out there, right? So the advantage to not having one of those is you can go in and just, you know, if it's a standard commander that you'd get from a crate or that you could buy with commander XP from the store, you can just rebuy that commander with the commander XP a bunch of times, and then that way you get those commendations to be able to quickly rank up your legendary perk, right? So I might have this maxed out. So we'll wait for the little island symbol to go away, and then we'll pull the trigger on this cruiser. And then, yep, just as we're getting in range of Will to Rebuild from this California, so you can see our health going back up. And then we're going to turn in, and actually we don't even have to because the Hyuga's not shooting at us, but we'll start turning in. We only got guns on the front, right? So that's the Dunkerque. Hyuga's got engine damage. You can see the sparks coming out of the top of his smokestacks, right? So we know he's not going to be moving forward or reverse very quickly, so we'll just kind of take the easy shot there. I also did switch to HE, which you don't necessarily have to do, but I'm like, all right, if he's on damage con, we could light him on fire and he's going to burn for a little bit too, you know, so we'll do double duty there. And then Fubuki shows up, so we're going to try and finish him off, right? He's got 10 kilometer range torps, right? So we're going to start moving because he probably sent him. California finishes him. We'll keep moving forward. We'll press in. And at this point, I'm like, California, I'm going wherever you go, buddy, because you're keeping me alive, right? So a lot of times what'll happen is, you know, the enemy team's going to like hyper focus on you because they're going to see that you're low on health. But sometimes that Will to Rebuild could just keep you alive forever if they don't get those big hits on you, right? So we'll take advantage of that. Somebody finishes off Hyuga, the Wesser. I'm sure I'm saying that wrong. That's German. We'll take our shots at him. We'll see what AP does. Sometimes the AP you get overpens on the carriers, but we'll see. And so that landed pretty good, so we'll keep the AP shells. And so this carrier, he's going to pick on us, right, because we're weak. But by the time he circles back around, he's going to lose planes to both me and this California. Plus, we're going to be almost back up to 20% health with the Will to Rebuild, right? So, joke's on you. We are getting our payback from the beginning of the game, and this is why I always preach survive, right? Just stay alive. Don't give up your ship so quickly or so easily just from taking some bad hits early on in the beginning of the game, right? So, I'm sure somebody else is going to get this kill here. Yeah, more planes shot down. I'm surprised we only have 5 shot down. I guess the Dunkerque doesn't have the greatest AA. I definitely didn't build into that, so that might be part of it. But we do manage to push over 100 grand for damage on this tier 5, right? I mean, I was working on some bureau stuff, so the only one that beat us out was said California friend that was also keeping us alive on the leaderboard here. So not by much, though. Only about 100 XP, a little more maybe. And then, yep, we did make a little bit of silver, a little bit of booty. And then I'll go through how I have the commander set up for this game too. This is my High Sorcerer, Baradin. So this is not a paid commander, right? I'm using, you can see in the top right, Robert Jujard. I'm sure I'm saying his name wrong too. Leave your hate comments and tell me I'm wrong in the comments section. That's what it's there for, right? But basically, so the High Sorcerer thing is really just the commander guys, right? So it's just for show. But AP damage and shell grouping for inspirations, and then his base trait is penetration multiplier, right? And then I'm basically just doing whatever I feel like is range and accuracy focused along this, these rows, this tree, whatever you want to call it, right? And then, like, I'm not a big fan of the shell switch time, so I go with main battery dispersion here. I always forget what that crown one is. But yeah, main battery range here. You could pick some of the other ones, like another 3% isn't huge, but yeah. And then, of course, Will to Rebuild is what kept us alive for the second half of the game. So I actually I was only at stage 3 for that for legendary perk, so we could get it up a little bit better. If I go in and buy a bunch of Robert Jujard commanders, right? But thank you guys so much for watching. Do make sure to follow the channel. We're doing World of Warships videos every single day. And I will see you guys again tomorrow.